Hello everyone. The clip you're about to hear is from one of our exclusive Patreon episodes on a recent horror release, and just like all of our other episodes, it might include major spoilers for said horror release, so don't listen to it if you haven't already seen it. You've officially been warned. And if you'd like to hear the full episode, just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers and subscribe today. Without further ado, here is your exclusive Patreon clip.
I think that there's some fun stuff, but overall, this is concept and title over actual film for me.
I can understand that. I'm a little bit warmer on it than you. This is a 3.5 out of 5 for me, so I am recommending this. However, this is a comedy horror film that we are talking about. So
I think that's an important distinction to make. A lot more comedy than gore, even though the gore that is here is fucking great.
Oh yeah, I mean honestly, this is a pretty gory movie. I mean shit, we have intestines getting pulled out of Ray Liotta. Oh, sorry everyone, we're spoiling this now. So
obviously, always.
We have intestines getting pulled out of Ray Liotta's gut by a bunch of baby cubs. Like, I mean, so I'm really happy about that. And the humor, it's been interesting watching the reaction to this movie because I've seen some people that are like, oh my God, it's so funny. I've seen some people be like, wow, it's the same stale joke over and over and over and over again. I've seen some people be like, ooh, it works when the bear is in play. It doesn't work when the bear is not in play. And so I've really seen the gamut of the whole spectrum of these reactions.
Right. Do you have one of those that you fall into? Because I'm definitely that last one. When the bear's on screen, I'm in love. And when the bear's not on screen and we're following a trio of criminals, I'm kind of underwhelmed.
I'm more towards I had a really fun time with this. I actually did laugh a lot. It's not even the jokes in the movie. It's a lot of the idiosyncrasies of the characters. So I saw so much of again, like, oh, the humans are so dull. The humans are so boring. And to be honest, I really enjoyed most of the humans in this movie. But I think a big problem, and I have the same problem with Piranha 3D, is that in a movie like this, the most interesting characters are typically the ones that die before the third act because we have to have our third act be our heroes. And unfortunately, our heroes are usually the least interesting and most boring and not funny characters in the film.
Well, and I would add to that there's too many characters in this movie. I fully understand what they're doing. Like, you can't just have 5 characters and then only kill 1 or 2 people. Like, they want to have a bunch of people in here so the bear can go murder happy. I think the problem is that they think some of these characters are either more interesting than they are, or they think that they deserve to have like a full character arc and maybe a happy ending or some kind of stinger joke. And I'm like, we could have killed a few more people.
I do agree the body count is a bit lower than I thought it was, at least when it comes to main characters, because we are killing off a lot of side characters, which is fine. I think a lot of these deaths, and when we get to the ambulance set piece, we'll talk about that thing, but a lot of these deaths are really fun. But at the same time, I honestly really enjoyed being around most of these characters because while I may not have been like guffawing for most of the runtime, I was at least kind of giggling or had a smile on my face during most of these interactions when we weren't having bear carnage.
Yeah, I'm a bit more hit and miss. Some of the interactions I thought were delightful and or funny, and or they were setting things up that were going to be important later on, very obviously. And then some of these I was just like, oh man, there's just something that is not clicking with me right now. And I couldn't tell if, once again, it was my disinterest in American comedy or if it was just like, oh, I don't actually really connect with these characters. Because I will say one of the things I ended up reflecting on after the fact was this reminded me of the wave of films we got after Pulp Fiction came out, where it was like shoddy crime stories with a bunch of characters who all intersect, and then we have like a raucous comedy of mistaken identities and people getting injured. Like, this was a bit 2 Days in the Valley for me.
Out of curiosity, do you prefer this movie or do you prefer Snakes on a Plane?
Yeah, I definitely saw those comparisons. I think your Piranha 3D comparison is actually more apt because Snakes on a Plane, that comedy it's not always very good.
No,
whereas I do think most of the comedy here is actually okay. It's actually the character types and the stories we're telling that I found disinteresting.
And we can go into that when we start going, because I mean, it's essentially a bunch of, it's not vignettes really, but because we have so many characters, it does almost feel a little bit like a sketch comedy show as we go from group to group to group.
Atlas Avenue. A long stretch of road that encompasses everything the city of Kennett Heights has to offer. Neon lights, traffic, crime, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and the craziest of characters. My office was above it all. My name is James Locke, and I'm a PI.
Hello, Mr. J. How the hell you doing today?
Good, Edith. Nearly every year I have a new case. New people to meet, new clues to discover, and new problems to solve. But I do it the old-fashioned way. No technology. Nothing post-1950. Hell, I don't even listen to podcasts, but you should. Atlas Avenue Beat is a spoof of the film noir genre with goofy characters, tons of wordplay, and non-stop raunchy humor. There's also 3 whole seasons out right now with more on the way. Just search for Atlas Avenue Beat wherever you listen to podcasts or visit us online at bloody.fm.